Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Logically Left. I am your host, Jeff Waldorf, and I have a pretty fantastic show for you today. We got a lot of fun stuff, also not so fun stuff. We have, for example, we talk about the GOP tax cut bill that just got passed by the House. Oh boy. Yeah, not a lot of good stuff in it, including how it may cut Medicare. Yeah, so that's not good. This bill is going to kill people, so that's horrific, but unsurprising. Then, of course, little palace intrigue about how everybody hates Elon Musk in the White House, at least. That's a funny story. Lots of fun there. We've got a federal judge ripping Alina Habba, and that's great. Okay, that's always a fun story when that happens. We've got a tense meeting with the South African president, Cyril Ramaphosa. That is, wow, it's quite the story there. As well as, of course, the Target boycott. Is it working? Interesting. So, lots of fun, lots of disaster. That's today's show. And every day in America, pretty much. So, with that, before I dive into these stories, I do want to thank a couple of channel members here. Michael Wolkowitz, thank you for joining or rejoining as a supporter on our YouTube page. And Gemini SG, thank you for supporting us as well and rejoining to our YouTube membership page. So thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you for supporting independent progressive media. Also tonight, looking forward to being on Leftist Mafia with some of my rowdy friends, including Humanist Report, David Dole, Rational National, Lance of the Serfs, and all of those wonderful folks. Looking forward to it. It's going to be a fun discussion. I don't know what we're talking about, which will make it even more funny. All right. So, and fun, by the way. So, yeah, it'll be surprise. Yay. I love surprises. All right. Anyway, that said, like and share the stream. And we're going to start out with the big ugly bill. Oh, yeah. Yeah, everybody brace for this disaster because it's coming. Oh boy, is it coming. All right. President Donald Trump's so-called big beautiful bill, which is stuffed with goodies for the richest Americans, corporations, along with, of course, steep cuts to Medicaid and the SNAP program, food stamps, food assistance for people in poverty. This bill also comes with the possibility of massive cuts to Medicare. That's right. According to the Nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office, they have estimated that the Republican budget bill that just passed the House 215 to 214 late at night, by the way, and the reason that it was so close is we've had 3 Democrats that are missing because they died in office. So, we do not have enough votes here in the House, even though, it was pretty close. Okay, maybe it would have helped if we had those other Democrats, but they weren't there, and maybe it wouldn't have helped. Still, that's what happened. But anyway, this budget bill would trigger about $500 billion in automatic cuts to Medicare. But wait, hold on. That must be fake news, right? Because Donald Trump, he had promised not to cut Medicare. He's not going to touch Medicare. Well, here's the genius thing about it. He wouldn't be the one doing it. These are automatic cuts. See, what happened is that Congress is bound by the PAYGO Act. So it's statutory. It's pay as you go, right? Which requires any spending to be offset by automatic cuts to avoid deficit spending. Okay. Now, those automatic Medicare cuts would be capped at about 4% of its yearly budget, meaning that about $45 billion would be cut in 2026 and between $490 billion between 2027 and 2034 total, according to the CBO. So well, that's a lot of cuts. That said, they could offset the deficit impact to avoid the automatic cuts, but that would involve, of course, taking money from something else, cutting something else, or adding in some new revenue, which, of course, that's not going to happen. They're not going to add in revenue because that would involve taxing. Yes, I know. So that said, what they have right there, and this is a tax cut bill, all right? So it cuts trillions of dollars in taxes, which, would add, of course, about $3.8 trillion to the deficit over the next 10 years. So you'd have to do a lot of cutting to make it deficit neutral, okay? Sure, I'm not saying they couldn't figure something out if they wanted to. Perhaps, doing some weird procedural tricks that they always do. For example, they could change budget scorekeeping rules. Okay. They could also instruct the White House Budget Office to just ignore the reconciliation package's debt impact. Yes, the people that were screaming about the debt and the deficit for decades. Oh my God! Oh, we've got so much budget deficits and debts. We got to do something about it. We got to do something about the debt. Then they're just going to completely ignore that, or they could ignore it like they always do. Look, here's the thing. Congress has never allowed the pay-go sequester to actually go into effect, even after passing deficit-increasing legislation. They always have these budget tricks that they go and use to make sure that, yes, we can pass these tax cuts mainly, okay, for the rich, or spending that's basically also going to rich people and corporations without having to do these automatic cuts. So, yeah, and that's what they could do with these Medicare cuts, because honestly, if they do end up passing, not passing, they already passes, but if the pay-go cuts go into effect here, well, that's a massive cut to Medicare, which would be really, really unpopular with the people on Medicare. And a lot of them happen to be MAGA supporters. So that said, there is still the potential of having cuts to Medicare, which would come in addition to the already massive cuts to Medicaid, which are sure to happen. In fact, according to the CBO, the lowest income households, though, would see their resources drop, okay, with these cuts. Medicare and food stamps, the SNAP program, while the highest income households would get a massive boost, because of course they will. That is the entire freaking point of this big, beautiful bill, is to give rich people your money. It is an upward transfer of wealth. In fact, during the debate, you had Representative Maxwell Frost pointing out what it actually is. Here's what he said.
Republicans would have us believe that the person most likely to steal from you is a person in a hoodie, a black person in a hoodie, or an immigrant with tattoos. And this is to distract.
Gentleman's time has expired. The gentleman's recognized for an additional minute.
This is to distract from the fact that at least here tonight, the people stealing from Americans are not folks with tattoos and hoodies. It's people wearing suits and ties and congressional pins sitting in this Capitol right now. Not in some random alley wrapped in darkness, but in the United States Congress, wrapped in the flag. It is disgusting, and we will never forget this. I yield back.
They boo because he's right. Oh, they do not like being called out. Because that's what this is. This is an upward transfer of wealth, okay? And there's more criticism, by the way. Richard Fiesta, executive director of the advocacy group Alliance for Retired Americans, said, quote, "This bill just gets more and more cruel." It's almost like that's the point. He said it's an all-out assault on Medicare and Medicaid that will hurt older Americans in every community across the country. President Trump and Speaker Johnson promised over and over not to touch Medicare. This big, brutal bill cuts both Medicare and Medicaid while handing massive tax breaks to the ultra-wealthy and big corporations. This is not just a broken promise, it's a betrayal. Yes. Curse your sudden but inevitable betrayal. Ha ha ha! Mine is an evil laugh. Now die, poor people. That's what they're saying. Okay, that's what they're saying to you. Look, this Republican budget bill, it's Brendan Doyle now, representative of Pennsylvania, the top Democrat in the House Budget Committee, says this is one of the most expensive and dangerous bills Congress has seen in decades. This is what Republicans do. Pay for massive tax breaks for billionaires by going after programs families rely on the most: Medicaid, food assistance, and now Medicare. Yeah. It's reckless, dishonest, and deeply harmful to the middle class. But you know what the biggest irony about this entire thing is, though? These cuts would actually hobble Medicare's ability to try and fight waste, fraud, and abuse. That's right. According to Mary Johnson, no relation, by the way, an independent Medicare and Social Security analyst, she said one of the first areas that have felt the cuts in the past have been Medicare's fraud and waste fighting efforts. These cuts would weaken the key Trump administration priority to root out fraud and waste. It could backfire by leading to a more rapid rate of growth in Medicare Part B premiums if waste and fraud is not kept in check. Look, here's the thing. They don't actually care about waste, fraud, and abuse. They really don't. Okay. The cruelty is the point. In fact, if they do get more waste and fraud and abuse as a result of these cuts, then they can just use that to say, oh, look at how wasteful and fraudulent this program is. We should get rid of it. We should privatize it. That's pretty much it. The cruelty is the point. Now, Shannon Benton, executive director of the Senior Citizens League, said the potential Medicare cuts could also lead to lower reimbursement rates and may force healthcare providers to limit services or stop accepting Medicare altogether, while older adults could see higher out-of-pocket costs for medical services and prescriptions. Of course. And for those enrolled in Medicare Advantage benefits like dental, vision, or hearing, that could be scaled back or eliminated entirely. So there you go. And yes, it also raises the debt ceiling by $4 trillion. The thing that Republicans didn't want to do, we are not going to raise the debt ceiling. No, that's irresponsible. Now they're doing it. So there you go. That is the impact of this bill that has passed, at least the House, and now goes to the Senate. Not so beautiful, after all, is it? Yeah. Okay. I remember a phase in Dungeons and Dragons Online. Do you know the difference between a thief and a politician? A thief steals from behind. A politician steals from the front. Yes, all while wearing a suit. Of course. It's a good quote. All right. Let's move on here. Everyone hates Elon. Oh, that's good. Now that Elon Musk has left the White House, he's been gone for some time now, and is hated by the public at large, staffers are now free to talk about how much they also hate the chief twit. According to some reports here, Musk was frequently fighting with other members of the Trump team. Imagine being that much of a douche where the Trump people, some of the worst people imaginable, also hate you. I love it. Now, do I have some examples? Yes, I do. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. He had been reportedly getting into a screaming match with Elon Musk over some stuff in April. What kind of stuff? Well, turns out According to reports, Musk and Bessent had exploded at each other back in April after Musk attempted to force through his own pick to lead the IRS, a man named Gary Shapley. And he tried to do it behind Bessent's back. Ooh, no, that's not good. Oh, that's not good at all. Now, Musk ended up losing that fight. And in fact, after, the typically mild-mannered Bessent, that's what he's being described as here. I don't know if that's for sure. But apparently not so mild-mannered now. Okay. He was heard shouting, F you, F you, F you, as they walked around the West Wing. The fight had started outside the Oval Office and continued past the Roosevelt Room and toward the Chief of Staff's office, and then barreled around the corner to the National Security Advisor's Warren, according to reporting from The Atlantic. Oops. Wow. Fun. That's just one example. Back in March, Musk also walked into what he described as a ambush, facing heated backlash from Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Oh, little Marco. Veterans Affairs Secretary Doug Collins and Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy. You know who arranged this little ambush? Donald Trump. Who said this? Bring them all in here and we'll have at it. Hey, look. He gets dinner and a show. Look at that. Now, why were they so mad at Elon Musk? Well, just like with Bessent, apparently Musk, they felt was overstepping, overplaying his hand, trying to run their agencies. Can't have that, obviously. In fact...
Can't let that happen.
All right. But not only that, but it was also the slashing and burning of these agencies in the way that he did it without their, permission, I guess, that got on their nerves. Okay, there you go. He had some missteps in all these agencies, said the report, which would have been fine because everyone acknowledges that when you're moving fast and breaking things, not everything is going to go right. But it's different when you do that, and you don't even have the buy-in of the agency you're setting on fire. That is according to one outside Trump advisor speaking to The Atlantic. Another advisor had asked this, quote, how many people were fired because they didn't send in their 3 things a week or whatever the F it was? I think everybody is ready to move on from this part of the administration. Oof. Look, you got people there that still like Elon Musk, I guess, for some reason or another. Or at least they were still on his side saying, perhaps, maybe it was a mistake to start with the chainsaw. This is Matt Calkins, CEO of Appian, a Virginia-based company that provides software for the federal government, saying, in retrospect, it wasn't nearly as much as we needed, and we probably didn't need the chainsaw. We needed the chisel. No, not really a chisel. When you're dealing with this, you want to use a scalpel, okay? Because I'm sure there is some wasteful stuff, but you don't hit it with the chainsaw, okay? That's it. Now, of course, I love how it's, well, in retrospect, after we broke all this stuff and pissed off a whole lot of people, maybe it wasn't such a bad idea or a good idea. Maybe it was a bad idea. So, yeah. Now, Musk's exit from government also followed widespread reports that several senior Trump officials practically hated the guy, finding him, quote, abrasive, unfunny, and pompous, with some describing him as the, quote, most irritating person they've ever had to deal with. And these are, again, the same people that deal with Donald Trump on a daily basis. So, I mean, that's not good. Quote, I have been in the same room with Elon, and he always tries to be funny, said one senior Trump official, speaking to Rolling Stone last month. And he always tries to be funny. And he's not funny, like, at all. He makes these jokes and little asides and smiles, and then looks almost hurt if you don't lap up his humor. I keep using the word annoying. A lot of people who have to deal with him do, but the word doesn't do the situation justice. Elon just thinks he's smarter than everyone else in the room and acts like it, even when it's clear he doesn't know what he's talking about. That's it. I mean, that really feels like the most accurate description of Elon Musk I've ever heard. Look, the guy is not Tony Stark, okay? He's got zero charisma. He's more phony Stark than anything else, all right? Man cheats at video games. He pays others to play video games for him and then pretends to be this epic elite gamer when he's really just nothing more than a sad, lonely man-child. That's really it. I mean, if the man was not sitting on a veritable mountain of cash, then no one would give two shits about him. He'd just be that annoying little weirdo sitting in the corner by himself that you kind of feel sad about, like, oh, what's that guy doing over there? Maybe somebody should talk to him. I don't know. And then you start talking to him and you want to throw yourself out a freaking window. Okay, that's really it. But again, here's the thing though, all right? Yes, he's done in the White House. Nobody likes him. Everybody hates him. All right, great. But here's the thing though. When it comes to Doge, because that's his legacy, right? You could say, well, look, yes, they failed to cut waste, fraud, and abuse. Thing is, though, and this article in The Atlantic, that's their main takeaway. Well, Doge has failed. No, because cutting waste, fraud, and abuse was never the point of Doge. The point was to terrorize the federal workforce, to weaken oversight of Elon's companies, to steal people's personal data that I don't know what they're going to do with it. I mean, you know, they're going to take the data. They could use it for something. I don't know. Or they could sell it to third parties and make a lot of money off of it. And of course, the other thing is to get Musk more government contracts, which he has. I think to that, I mean, that was worth more than the $290 million donation or bribe that he gave Donald Trump during the election. Okay. That said, all right, I really do think that Elon Musk bought into this idea that people love him. And like generally doesn't understand that people don't. Okay. And this is why, one of the reasons, I should say, not the only reason, but one of the main reasons that he bought Twitter/X, right? He bought it to build an echo chamber. All right. Not only to amplify his, right-wing ideas and to do propaganda. That's part of it. The other part, I think, is just the fact that he's sad and lonely and wants to build a following of people who are sycophants. And that's really it. Okay. He wants to elevate his weirdo sycophantic followers so that they can sit there and tell him how great he is. It's about his ego, right? And a lot of what Elon Musk has actually done, he did just to try to inflate that ego. And I think he did that because at the end of the day, even he knows deep down that he is deeply unlikable. And the only thing that he has, really, is just money. He's also the guy at the Magic the Gathering tournament that spends tons of money on the latest meta deck and has no idea how to use it and loses the first round. Oh, that's good. Oh, I love that. That's a great comment. Thank you, Ramirez77. Musk is crashing and burning just like his SpaceX rockets and Tesla cyber dumpsters. I like to call them the wank panzers, but yeah, they're cyber dumps. I have a bunch of different names for that for that abomination of a car. Like the PS1 looking piece of crap. It's amazing. No, it doesn't look like a PS1, but it looks like something that you would have on the PS1. Too many polygons. Almost every rich a-hole needs to get therapy instead of buying friends. Yeah. And they never do. Low poly automobile. Yes. Swastika is a good one too. Yeah, I do like that. All right. Let's go to a low standard. Alina Habba. All right, next story. No, I'm kidding. Let's move on. All right. A federal judge hilariously chewed out Alina Habba and her federal prosecutors over the botched and embarrassing decision to try to charge Newark Mayor Ras Baraka with trespassing during a demonstration in front of an ICE facility. They also immediately retracted those charges, which again added the embarrassment there. According to the New Jersey Globe, U.S. Magistrate Judge Andre Espinoza went off on a 5-minute tongue lashing. Gotta love that classic term there. Aimed at Assistant U.S. Attorney Stephen Domanovich's office. Here's part of what Espinoza said. Quote, an arrest of a public figure is not a preliminary investigative tool. It is a severe action. It should only be undertaken after a thorough, dispassionate investigation of credible evidence. Federal prosecutors serve a single paramount client, justice itself. Your role is not to secure convictions at all costs, nor to satisfy public clamor. I know, right-wingers all around are like, oh, nor advance political agendas. And then, of course, you have Trump saying, oh. Your allegiance is to the impartial application of the law, to the pursuit of truth, and to the upholding of due process for all. The apparent rush in this case, culminating today in the embarrassing retraction of charges, suggests a failure to adequately investigate. Your office must operate with a higher standard than that. Yes. But here's the thing. If they had higher standards, then they wouldn't be led by Alina Habba, would they? She is only in this position because of the fact that she is Donald Trump's former personal attorney. I don't know, man. It kind of sounds like a DEI hire to me. Just saying. Now, Habba was present for this hearing, by the way. And again, that arrest was directed by Habba. And so she was there. She was listening in on the meeting. However, she declined to speak. Really? Well, maybe she thought the case might go better if she kept her mouth shut. But it didn't. Nope. And look, honestly, the facts here point at this being a political arrest, an attempted political prosecution. We all know this, okay? Baraka's May 9th arrest occurred amid protests against a reopening of Delaney Hall. Now, Baraka says that facility is operating illegally and should be shut down. Nobody should be there, okay? But look, here's the thing. The reason that they open it is so they can have a place to toss immigrants in there without giving them due process. Okay, that's another thing the courts keep going after this administration on. Now, the case with the Delaney Hall is that the Geo Group, yes, this is a private prison corporation. They opened it up without any of the necessary paperwork and approvals. So that's it. That is illegal. All right. No, you're not supposed to open up these private prisons for immigrants. All right. Without at least, again, due process, which is very, very important. And the proper approvals. So these Democrats went out there and were like, you don't have the proper approvals for this. And ICE responds by arresting them. Insane. Now, of course, when it actually comes to the court's like, yeah, this was stupid. You got to let him go. Okay. And so the charges dropped against Baraka. Now, he had a great response to this, by the way. And it was captured on Hot Mic. I wish I had the audio for it, but here's what he said. Jesus. He tore these people a new asshole. Good grief. I love it. All right. Now, that said, there's kind of a bad part to this story, and it's, look, the fact that, yes, it's good that the charges against Baraka had been dropped. Great. There's no reason he should have been charged. However, the ones against Representative LaMonica McIver are still ongoing. So we're just waiting for that. She has been charged with assault against 2 ICE agents. Do we really know if they were ICE agents or not? I mean, a lot of people claim to be on ICE, wearing masks. So do we know if they're ICE or federal agents or Proud Boys in disguise? We just don't know. Maybe we ought to look into that too. But anyway, McIver calls these charges purely political. In a statement, she said that the visit to the detention center should have been peaceful and short. Instead, she says ICE agents created an unnecessary and unsafe confrontation when they chose to arrest Mayor Baraka. The charges mischaracterize and distort my actions and are meant to criminalize and deter legislative oversight. Yeah. And there it is. That is part of the overall goal, though. Okay. Try to scare members of Congress into allowing Trump and his criminal administration to keep breaking the law, to keep stealing people off the street and disappearing them after shoving them into for-profit prisons and shipping them off to either El Salvador or now South Sudan. So, I mean, that is a huge problem. The courts have already ruled that you can't send them off to CCOT, and they're still doing it. And so the illegality involved in this, regime, basically, that they're involved in is pretty serious. And I hope it will eventually lead to people in this administration being brought before the court as defendants instead of people like, Alina Habba just getting to sit there in these court, hearings as the judge just verbally tears them apart. Yeah, these faux lawsuits are all about intimidation. True. An ice jacket on Temu, $8.99. True. I'm gonna have to look that up. Roughshod, indeed. It's like Obama said if he did a fraction of this administration is doing, the Republicans would be out for blood. Yeah, well, there's always double standards, right? It's okay if a Republican does it, but not good if a Democrat does it. It's always the thing with these people. And that's why calling out their hypocrisy, by the way, doesn't actually work. Because they have no shame. They have no morality, and they don't care about the law. So there you are. All right. Moving on. Let's go to a bit of an awkward meeting between the president of South Africa and the president of the United States. Oh boy. President Donald Trump had a meeting with South African President Cyril Ramaphosa that ended up being pretty awkward at times. Oh boy. The first awkward point happened when he was asked about the cuts to foreign aid programs, which, by the way, yes, a lot of foreign aid has been frozen or stopped by this administration, except for one, Israel. Yeah. So Israel still getting foreign aid. Yeah. Now, Trump told a reporter, quote, "It's devastating." His own cuts. And hopefully a lot of people are going to start spending a lot of money. I've talked to other nations. We want them to chip in and spend money too. And we spend a lot. And it's a tremendous problem going on in many countries. A lot of problems going on. The United States always gets a request for money. Nobody else helps. Wait, what? Wait, hold on. No, nobody else helps with foreign aid. Really? That's not true. Okay, let's get to the numbers. In 2023, while the U.S. donated about $9.5 billion in humanitarian aid worldwide, yes, the United States gives the most out of anyone to, foreign aid, in foreign aid. Other countries do donate money. All right. In fact, the European Commission donated about $2.1 billion in 2023. Germany donated $2 billion in foreign aid. The UK, $754 million. Japan, $685 million. Norway, $641 million. Canada, yes, our friends to the north, which are, yes, they're obviously kind of mad at us right now for understandable reasons, right? And I love our Canadian friends. They donated $577 million. France donated $549 million. Sweden donated $434 million. That's just humanitarian aid, by the way. Okay, it's humanitarian foreign aid. Now, when it comes to other forms of foreign aid, the U.S., of course, also gives a lot of money. The rest of the world also gives a lot of money. Now, a lot of the recipients right now of that non-humanitarian foreign aid happens to be going to places like Ukraine, as well as, of course, Israel. Yeah. At the end of the day, though, yes, it is true that the United States is the largest donor of foreign aid in the world. Okay. Now, why is that? It's not because the world is taking advantage of us or anything like that. No, it's because we're the world's only superpower and currently the wealthiest country in the world. Okay. In fact, as a percentage of GDP, American foreign aid spending actually ranks near the bottom compared to other developed countries. You know those other countries that have been giving foreign aid as well? Yeah. We may give a lot more than other countries in, pure dollar figures, right? But when it comes to our GDP, that's actually a drop in the bucket. Whereas the other countries who are giving foreign aid, they actually do give more of themselves, okay? And so I think that's an important point, because that really is kind of what rich people do in regards to, giving to charity, for example, right? So rich people give, a big chunk of money. We're going to give that to charity and then do a tax write-off, right? And look, not only is it a tax write-off, but it's good PR for those rich people. And it's essentially chump change to them, okay? You get a billionaire that gives $100,000 to a charity, barely anything for them. It's barely anything for them. So, that said, right, for the U.S., you got to understand, too, a lot of our foreign aid is not unconditional, right? U.S. aid, for example, is often used to exert what they call soft power. Now, I would rather have soft power than hard power, which involves bombs. Yes. And we certainly do a lot of that too, all right? But this soft power, yes, generally does go to help a lot of people. In fact, when it comes to South Africa, the U.S. actually spent about $500 million on aid for that country in 2023, right? And that's mostly on healthcare, by the way. That's according to the most recent data. That said, thanks to Trump, that most of that funding is gone. Okay, and there's going to be some serious health impacts. In fact, the cuts have already had an effect on the country's response to the HIV epidemic. South Africa has the world's highest burden of HIV cases, with about 8 million people, or 1 in 5 adults, living with that virus. Now, our aid funding was helping with about 17% of the country's HIV budget before our cuts. And in the months since, after the cuts, testing and monitoring of HIV patients across South Africa has went down, obviously, because they don't have the money to be able to keep up with it. So as a result, people are going to get sicker and they're going to die as a result, which is devastating to the people who, live there, obviously. But not that Donald Trump cares, okay? Because they really don't. Here's the thing, though. Trump is basically acting like your average rich person, okay? That's because it's what he is, or allegedly, okay? And he's doing so in the way of telling poorer countries that aren't as rich as us that they should be paying a lot more. Well, and it's not to benefit the people living here, right? Oh, no, we don't have enough money to keep giving to foreign aid. We should be spending it here, right? But they're actually not spending it here. They're telling poor Americans as well that they should be paying more for things like healthcare or the tariffs. I mean, it's a great example. Tariffs. That is literally a tax on us. It's getting average people to pay more. Not only that, but you have the so-called big, beautiful bill, right? Which has hundreds of billions of dollars in Medicaid cuts and food stamp cuts and even Medicare cuts that are involved in it. Okay. And with that, Trump is shifting, and the GOP, they're shifting the cost burden of those things onto the poorest people. All right. Just like with the pulling back of foreign aid, they're shifting the cost burden onto the poorest countries in the world so that the rich here can pay even less. And ultimately, that's what it's about. Okay? Now, that's not all. All right? As I said, this got pretty awkward, and I've got a video here for you. See, while Ramaphosa was there, Trump decided to show the South African president what he really cares about. Because remember, they thought, we're going to be here, we're going to be discussing trade, right? That's it. We're here to discuss trade. But in reality, Trump was there to show Ramaphosa videos and conspiracy theories about supposed white genocide. Yes, that's right, which is not happening. In fact, he even forced the president to watch an edited video that purported to show evidence of mass murder targeting white Afrikaner farmers, and then presented him with stacks of news article printouts alleging this conspiracy.
These are articles over the last few days. Death of people. Death. Horrible death. Death. I don't know.
But you know that
I think anyone, white South Africans are fleeing because of the violence and racist laws. And this is all, I mean, I'll give these to you. So when you say, what would I like to do? I don't know what to do. Look at this. White South African couple say that they were attacked violently.
When will you go and see what yourself it is?
Well, I can do that. Look, here's burial sites all over the place. These are all white farmers that are being buried.
President Trump.
He asks about a jet that was given.
First question.
You know, you are so bad. You're such a bad reporter.
If anything genocide, why invite them? Seriously, why invite them South Africa to the White House?
May I finish, please, President Trump? Mr. President
This
Trump.
is one after another. This family was wiped out. I'm just looking. But we have a very corrupt media. They won't even report this. If this were the other way around, it would be the biggest story. Now, I will say, apartheid, terrible. That was the biggest story. That was reported all the time. This is sort of the opposite of apartheid. What's happening now is never reported. Nobody knows about it. All we know is we're being inundated with people, with white farmers from South Africa, and it's a big problem.
It's a big problem, except that it's not. It's not a real problem. Look, I love when he was thumbing through all the stacks of papers that he has. It's all New York Post, Daily Mail, mainly Murdoch-owned media, which should tell you something. Okay, look, all of those sources should be, discarded, mainly because one of the biggest Murdoch-owned media sources, that's Fox News, had to admit in court that they lied to their viewers. So, yeah, they really shouldn't be taken seriously at all. Not by a serious person. They've even said, no reasonable person would ever actually take what we say seriously. Yeah. Not only that, but again, you actually have literal studies that have shown that claims of white genocide are just completely false. Now, is there a crime problem in South Africa? Oh yeah, yeah. That's a problem. Okay, but the notion that white people are being targeted and persecuted simply because of their skin color, it's just not true. It's just not true at all. Likely, they're being robbed because they're the only ones that have any money. Okay, and that's because they stole it with their racist apartheid policies, which prevented black residents from even owning farmland. That's it. Look, the percent of murders in South Africa is pretty high, about 27,000 a year. But the victims are not white farmers. They are young black men in poorer areas of the country. Okay, that's who's dying from this violence. Okay, now Trump does not care about that at all. But the murder of farmers is actually less than 1% of all the cases. That's the reality. That's it. That's it. And look, according to the Transvaal Agricultural Union of South Africa, which is a commercial farmers union made up of Afrikaners. They're the ones that are saying, yeah, that's not really a real problem. Okay. There were 32 farm murders in 2024. It was down 50 in 2023 and 43 in 2022. Even they've disputed that there is a white genocide that is happening in South Africa. Okay, period. So, not a problem. It's not a real thing, not a real problem. Okay, and so look, here's the thing. This meeting was supposed to be originally about trade tariffs, right? But Trump turned it into a clown show because, that's what he does. At one point, Ramaphosa was like, hey, I'm sorry, I don't have a plane to give you. To which Trump responded, oh, I wish you did. No, I'd take it. If your country offered the United States Air Force a plane, I would take it. Yeah, I'm sure you would. I'm sure you would. To which the South African president had responded, oh, okay. I mean, what do you do with that? What do you say to that situation? Okay. And look, it's not like this guy didn't bring Trump a gift, all right? He brought him a book about South African golf courses. Okay. So it's not like he didn't try to make a good, impression here and to push back against the nonsense that Trump was spewing about so-called white genocide. But again, it was obvious that this was Zelensky all over again. All right. That whole thing. So total clown show. But you know what? What do you expect when you elect a circus? All right. Last story. Grok seems to be highlighting the problem of white genocide in South Africa, and that is whether you ask for it or not. Yeah. Yeah, it just seems to be one of those things. AI, run amok. Okay. Moving on. Yeah, you're going to love this. Go anti-woke? Go broke? Well, if you're Target, absolutely. Turns out the boycotts of Target following their rollback of DEI policies has actually contributed to some losses. Target announced in January that it rolled back some of its DEI programs following Donald Trump's executive order to dismantle the federal government's DEI initiatives. Which he described as radical and wasteful. Oh my God, DEI, radical, wasteful. Sure. That move, of course, sparked pushback from a lot of Target customers who saw this as basically a betrayal of the company's previous commitments to promote diversity in the workforce. All right. Now, as a result, of course, of these boycotts, the retailer on Wednesday reduced its full year sales forecast to following a 3% drop in sales compared to the first quarter of the year. Now, CEO Brian Cornell blamed this ongoing pressure in our discretionary business, plus 5 consecutive months of declining consumer confidence, tariff uncertainty, and the reaction to the updates we shared on belonging in January. So that's their DEI, right? And so, hey, they're at least admitting that it turns out that rolling back DEI is kind of hurting us. Oops. So, yes, these boycotts related to the rolling back of DEI, big chunk of why Target is not hitting their sales goals. And you could be like, but what about the economic conditions? What about the tariffs? Well, don't worry. I'm going to address that. All right. But first, I'm going to note that transactions at Target stores and online actually fell about 2.4%, and the average spend per visit actually decreased 1.4%. Company now anticipates a low decline in sales for the fiscal year, adjusting projected earnings per share to $7 to $9 from an earlier forecast of $8.80 to $9.80. To which I say, good. Good. I love it. The message needs to be sent that if you side with the fascists that are trying to erase LGBTQ plus people, ignoring black people, and arresting Latin Americans and deporting them, even while, they're U.S. citizens, because that's illegal, or, they're legally allowed to be here. If you back that administration, if you are helping with their DEI purges, then we will not shop there. We will not shop there at all. None of our money will go to you. Side with the fash, lose cash. Simple as that. And again, I know the boycotts are having an impact. All right. Even look at the ranking Target has when it comes to consumer trust. Okay. They have lost a lot of it. A lot of goodwill. They went from 59th to 68th out of 100. The 100 most well-known brands in the annual Axios Harris Polls reputation rankings. Good. Get wrecked. Now, people on social media, of course, celebrated the news. Brendel writes, it's pretty remarkable just how thoroughly Target got its shit wrecked for the anti-DEI stuff. Yes. Melanie Dion writes, people shopped at Target because of what they thought Target represented. You know whose sales didn't sharply decline in the first quarter? Costco. Yes. Costco was one of the few companies that have kept their DEI policies intact, and they have been rewarded by consumers. Costco, at the same time where Target is losing, okay, Costco reported a 9% increase in revenue during the same quarter this year. Unlike its struggling competitors, Costco continues to see robust customer loyalty and consistent in-store traffic. According to recent financial reports, Costco's revenue has remained resilient despite economic uncertainty, largely due to customer loyalty and efficient operations. So again, a lot of companies, they could blame the tariffs, of course, and they are having an impact. But even in the face of the tariffs and people's, uncertainty about the economy, Costco is still rocking Target shit. And you love to see it. I love to see it. And it's not just Target, of course. You have Amazon. They have struggled with declining market share exacerbated by the elimination of their DEI programs and subsequent consumer backlash. Oh, I love it. Yes. Look, here's the thing. I need to give some special props here to Nina Turner. Okay. She's been a leader on this boycott. Okay. She's always talking about the boycott on her social media. Okay. And so I love it. Now, she celebrated this by posting, quote, Target sales fell in the first quarter, and the company warns sales will be down in 2025. We didn't need that warning. We already told them that. Keep boycotting. So that's basically her way of saying, FAFO, hey, Target, you effed around. Now you're finding out. All right. But the important thing here to note is that if you vote with your wallet, turns out it works. All right. Yes. Nina Turner. Gotta love it. All right. So that's just all the stories that I had for you today. Wow, that show went pretty fast. Make sure to catch me tonight as I hang out with the guys on Leftist Mafia. Guys and gal. Can't leave out Rebecca. Yes, I am going to be on Leftist Mafia tonight, so it's going to be a lot of fun. I cannot wait. It's going to be exciting. So tune in for that. Yeah, a lot of fun with these guys. Actually, it'd be the first time that I met some of them, you know, and actually had conversations with them. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. It should be again a ton of fun. All right. With that said, please like and share the stream. Very important that you do so. Helps us out greatly, of course. Rebecca and Jasmine. Oh, yes. So, again, really looking forward to it. All right. Like and share the stream. Consider becoming a member, signing up for, you know, membership, whether it be... Oh, I've got a super chat that I have to that I'm going to read too as well. Rachel Atwood writes, "Trump equals Joffrey's wedding, destroying Tyrion's boat." Yes, we got some Game of Thrones. It's been a while since we, you know, since I've seen some, you know, quotes or memes from Game of Thrones. It feels like a lifetime ago, doesn't it? Even though we are in the midst of the King Joffrey's regime. So there you go. Go to our Patreon too if you really you know, want to support independent progressive media. That's patreon.com/jeffwaldorf and sign up, support the show, or sign up to become a member by hitting the join button below. All that wonderful stuff. So thank you all, everyone. Love you, and remember, change begins with you. Of course, and make sure in your communities to extend mutual aid and organize your workplaces. Very, very important that you do so. Nothing pisses off fascists more than unions. So, except for police unions, of course. Those are the only bad ones. All right. But anyway, we'll see you all later tonight. Till then, take care.